Did I see Glacier Front peanut butter on that wall? Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka GeekXX Chic, and we are back with another reaction to Invincible. We're on season 3, episode 6, which is called All I Can Say Is I'm Sorry. So, just starting right off, I am fighting a cold or something right now, so I'm going to sound a little bit weird in this reaction. Please bear with me. I'm probably going to have to grab a lozenge just to make sure I can, keep my voice, but yeah, just a little upfront warning. But digressing. In the last episode, we see that Mark is just continuing to figure out his way as a hero. He was approached by the villain Titan because Titan was being pushed by the group called the Order to break Multipole out of prison, otherwise face the wrath of, what was his name? Snakehead or whatever. Anyways, Mark decided to stay out of it, but it turns out that maybe that wasn't the best decision for him to make. And anyways, in the end, they did manage to just barely get the situation under control, but then he found out that he was manipulated by Titan yet again. And yeah, he's just kind of having a hard time trying to figure out the best way to navigate this world because he's still very much wanting it to be black and white, but there's just a lot of gray in this world, especially considering the level of power that he's at and the responsibilities that are being expected of him. And outside of that, Oliver made some friends. It looks like he is at least tapping into a little bit more of a normal type of childhood, which is what Debbie wants for him. But anyways, ready to jump into this episode, so let's do that. But just before I do, a reminder that if you'd like to be in the know of when I react to these shows, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. All right, that out of the way, let's get into the episode right now.
Gretchen!
Does he have powers?
Okay, Jess. Here.
That would be why they didn't have a peaceful childhood, I guess.
That's as big as I can make them.
He doesn't look too well, so that might be why. So is this back to the day when Mark and his dad were fighting? Is that what happened? I'm not mad at them actually revisiting the people who survived this, who now have loss and PTSD because of this fight. It's kind of just glossed over in season 2. Oh!
Jessica.
Mark did try. He really did try.
She raised me after our parents died. They both died in Chicago, and it feels like their deaths don't matter. Okay, thousands of people died in Chicago.
Trial how,
Why is
though?
that murderer still flying around?
I mean,
free?
yeah, Marcus had no consequences.
If he's so innocent, then open an investigation. Let a jury decide. Give us justice.
I'm not actually against that.
Our laws don't apply in situations like this.
Ooh, villain arc starting. It's a messy situation and definitely not one that is easy to say. Again, not black and white. Yeah, you're seeing it for yourself, right? Mark was trying. They have footage of Oliver. How interesting.
2, 1.
Was that like his powers? Why are you hiding? So is he part of the people that have been in the shadows since episode 1?
Nah, you saw the tapes. He stopped fighting.
Yeah, I co-authored the report on her. She still would have won.
She would have.
Scott's not wrong. I mean, anyone else smashes their way into the Pentagon, they're either dead or locked away for life.
That part,
She
yes.
got to walk out, no harm.
That
no
part,
foul.
absolutely.
Maybe you've all forgotten, but Invincible is the only real weapon we've got right now if more Viltrumites
Assuming he
show up.
cooperates.
Till 2A grows up, at least.
2A? Who's 2A? Is that the little boy? Is that Oliver? I have questions, but they're not important.
If I can survive on an all-plant diet, so can you.
Tell them. Tell them. Thank you.
He hates listening to me so much.
Who wants to listen to their older brother? Oliver, if the place gets trashed, we can't have burgers after you're done. Got it. Thanks, Eve.
Really? That's the reasoning? Okay. Exactly. Really? A sigh is all you've got?
Will people here ever forgive him?
Possibly, but they need time. But also he needs to take accountability, which he hasn't done yet, so.
But But he saved a lot of people before that, right? Doesn't that count?
Not exactly. Not the way you think.
So he never gets to say he's sorry? He's a bad guy forever?
That's not
That's
what
not
Mark's
quite
saying.
true, but he hasn't said the sorry part.
All they know is he tried to take over and killed a lot of people.
Perspective.
You can make them understand.
Oliver, what is this really about?
I want to murder people and you're stopping me.
I can remember everything from when I was little.
Makes more sense.
My,
I thought so.
my mom loved Dad, like, a lot.
Because she
I
didn't know
that.
all of them.
Your mom was really smart and brave.
For the whole month I knew her.
She must have known he was good inside.
He's got points, but it's not that simple, boy.
The other was a Viltrumite.
That nearly beat me to
They had
death.
a mission to do even if that meant hurting a lot of people.
So which one is the real Dad?
That is a good question and not for you to answer. These are very valid questions, though, and understandable.
Have you no shame for what you've done?
No, seriously, who are you talking to?
Powerplex will make you pay.
Okay. Power
That was
blocks.
much better this time.
Who are you? Oh, his wife? You needed to practice your speech? Shouldn't that just come from the heart? Ow. Hope it's worth it, bro. Yeah, I'm hurting for you, bro. So these are like boosting his electric powers? I guess he wasn't lying about the little amount he was making before being as much as he could do. I thought maybe he was holding back.
The hammer.
Mjolnir? Okay, so he's kind of like, who's like that in the X-Men universe again? Well, I can't think of his name, but the same guy who you keep hitting him and he gets lots of like kinetic energy and then he can reshoot it. Whoa! Don't take out your wife, bro. So the more he gets hit by Invincible, the stronger he'll get. That's not a good laugh. Okay, yeah, we snapped.
You're welcome,
Is
Jack.
that really the... Okay, is this the path to go when you have a child to raise, though? But, I mean, I guess that might be their motivation as well. It's like, we don't want that to happen to our kid.
Since Mark dropped out, I need college updates from someone.
Ooh!
Your mom tells me you and Eve started a business. How does that work?
Look at him generating conversation.
But after I went door to door and introduced myself to the entire place, I was the only agent anyone would work with. It's all about reputation, right?
Look at that nice little assimilation there. Don't mock him.
I hated myself as soon as I said it.
No, I mean, what else can you have no other frame of reference. Oliver was being a bit of a jerk.
Just because we aren't saving the world doesn't mean our jobs aren't important.
Period.
They're not the same thing.
They're not. But what else do you relate on?
Good for all three of them to realize that there's a world out there that's not just aliens and supervillains.
Amen, Debbie. Please preach.
I'm not sure how I fit in.
You just
Mark
gotta
and Oliver are
accept
great
where
kids.
you're at and not compare
How
yourself.
can I relate to them?
Exactly the way you did.
I can't measure up to that.
It's not a measuring contest.
It's not about measuring up. It's about showing up.
What did I just say?
You're incredible.
But I get it. She's been doing this for over 20 years.
Let me help you with that.
Hey, let go!
What have I said about flying in the house?
Those are some very unique problems when you have super kids. Not the emo soundtrack. It's getting serious. Okay, so it's any type of impact against his body. But kind of sucks that you gotta like get to the top of an Empire State Building to get charged up, bro. Maybe we should find another way.
William!
Oh, Amber's new man.
And you're both adults. Well, Amber is at least.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Mature.
Hey, man. Mark, this is Kyle.
Exactly.
You read Seance Dog?
Yeah, do you?
Since I was 12.
Oh, look at that. Ways to bond.
I guess I have a type.
I guess you do.
Let's talking more bowling.
Thank you.
We're both smiling, so things must be okay.
Sure.
No superpowers.
I'm really not the threat here.
It's true.
All I want is an...
Come on, are we here to celebrate William's birthday or not?
It's technically Guardians of the Globe's territory. I mean, he is specifically asking for you, but technically he is Guardians' territory. He doesn't work for Cecil anymore.
This isn't about me.
Then why are you breaking everything?
This is about the thousands of people.
Then now don't...
murdered and the
Wow, that was crazy.
never pay for his crime.
Exactly, bro's like, can you have this tantrum not in the middle of traffic?
So, what do you want?
Articulate.
What do I want?
With words.
I want.
What does that mean, though? Define. What is justice? How do you...
Things too.
Oh, God.
And sometimes I don't get them.
Why do we do that?
It's an emotion that connects all living beings throughout the universe.
What?
So is he like our negotiator now? Because maybe we should get someone who actually is from the planet. Not trying to be speciesist here, but how much does he know about humanity, really?
I don't want to fight.
Then why did you just attack me, bro?
How about we take you to prison and maybe Invincible
We'll visit you there. I'm sorry, but this is the level I want to talk to him. Like he's acting like a toddler. So let's talk to him like a toddler. That's not... Oh, maybe we should have studied how his powers work before we started doing that, Martian. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we need backup.
He's fine.
The Powerplex
He'll be
guy
fine.
just killed.
He didn't kill him. He's fine.
I
Oh, but that makes it right? Are we any better? Then why are you fighting?
You saw what happened.
See how easy it is to be painted the villain?
We're okay.
Yeah, how well did that go now? Yeah, you did.
The GDA knows one of us in the lab stole the discs, and they'll figure out it was me.
After that display, absolutely.
They'll never face justice for
Oh
Jessica.
my gosh, his kid
and
looks just as...
Gretchen
What's with the
and
dark
all the
circles
other-
under the eyes in this family?
God, how could I forget?
Okay, maybe let's rein in the light in your babies in the room. Thank you. Maybe your kid needs to remind you.
Heck, Jack,
Yeah.
No. Eddie's sorry.
Exactly. Someone's turning into the very thing they said they're trying to fight.
Should I even be going today?
Why would you say that?
No, this is for the victims of
Okay.
what happened.
You were a victim too.
You were, but this maybe isn't the place for you to, connect on your victimhood.
If we're teleporting or something...
Teleporting!
I have to say,
Wrong superhero.
It's a surprise.
Most surprises aren't so...
I was about to say, I don't know, your surprises might not be what everyone else registers as a good surprise. But let's hope so.
And stay within the sensors.
I feel like maybe you should talk... Okay.
It rebuilds you with an incorrect temporal offset, resulting in you getting younger each time you use your powers.
Okay.
no de-aging detected.
Wait, does that mean...
Maybe, just maybe, you'll get to grow up.
Need to fine-tune the... Oh.
You did good, Rudy. You did good.
You're perfect the way you are.
But this is more of a life or death thing. Why are we creeping, Pervo? Mind your business. He still hasn't cleaned up this room. How long have you been here, Rex?
I'm quitting, Rex.
You're what?
That's fair. She's been through a lot. PTSD's a real thing. Did I see Glacier Front peanut butter on that wall? Look at Oliver's face.
Does everyone here hate Dad?
Oliver, it's not...
Yeah, can you bloody well focus on Oliver? Jeez, it's not about you.
Come and face justice for the lives you've taken. Come and face Powerplex.
You gonna go ahead and destroy this monument? What is your point, sir?
This isn't about you today, so let's calm down.
Actually, it
before
kind of
anyone gets
is
hurt.
directly about him. Hitting him is not a good idea, but okay.
Need help, not a fight. And I figured out you get stronger when I hit you.
Thank God. Finally.
You guys can take it from here.
Don't hit him. Maybe pass that along. Okay.
You're that very angry man from the other night. Did you ever
He's
find
like,
Invincible?
I'm forgiving you. I feel like all of us are missing the point here.
I didn't hurt anyone.
Yeah, because you got your ass beat first.
Provoking him, that's the right thing to do? Y'all are not very bright. Y'all really did not pick up on this yet.
Jesus. Okay, you asked for it now.
None of you pay attention. I I didn't hurt anybody. I wouldn't do that. I'm not the villain. How about all these people now that are experiencing car accidents and possibly this driver? And what did these men do other than their jobs, sir? And you've now maimed them.
I never really thought about all these people. I mean, I thought about them, but seeing the names, everyone here for the event.
And that's a luxury that you get to enjoy, Mark.
Cecil kept me sheltered from all this.
Oh, recognition.
I guess that was the one advantage to working with him.
One? Okay, good night, Eve.
Shouldn't we really understand the consequences of what we do?
Yes, but
that guy today.
You also can't take all of it.
But maybe that's because of what my dad and I did to someone he loved.
Thank you, Mark.
If he had hurt people here today, wouldn't that still be my fault?
No, doesn't work like that. He still has to take accountability for his actions.
Opening a bar or buying a farm or getting a job somewhere where people aren't trying to kill you every day.
Yeah, but what else is Rex really gonna do?
Let's quit being superheroes and just be
Nobodies. Huh?
Ray? I don't know.
Yeah, Rex is kind of was engineered for this.
And maybe that it doesn't have to be just this until we both get killed. You got shot in the head.
And he survived.
I don't want to go back out there and just wait for it to happen again.
But that's not okay.
Now I want to take a risk on something different. On me.
I mean, that's fair. Very different perspectives on their trauma, hey?
Are you happy, Rex?
Am I happy?
It's a good question. I don't even know if he's even asked that question of himself ever.
You deserve better.
He does deserve to be happy.
It is my identity. It's all I've got. All I've ever had. If I give that up, I won't have anything
You're still
left.
you. Or maybe you need to discover who that is.
Then I guess you don't know me as well as you think you do.
I mean, how well would she know? You guys have worked together for, what, 6 months? Let me leave you with a parting gift. My lust.
We'll come up with something. There's still time.
Ma'am?
We're out of time.
He's getting more violent with every time. What do you mean there's more time? For what? For him to actually commit a real irreversible crime?
This isn't over yet.
Toxic feeding on toxic.
Apparently, he's been tracking you for months.
Well, at least I know who's sending those orbs after me.
I'm afraid those weren't his.
That's why he's not that sophisticated.
I know you've already done a lot, but I'd like to meet Scott. I don't want him hurting anyone else because of me.
That's kind of what he asked for in the beginning.
I tried to keep this between us.
When? When you were destroying the city? Or attacking people at a memorial?
So I took a page from your book. I hope the life of an innocent woman is enough to motivate.
Your wife?
And if it's not...
Wow, you're just traumatizing your baby. Oh my God.
They have to believe I kidnapped you. It's the only way.
Is it? Okay.
Okay, just...
It's the way you think you can actually take Invincible out that's...
I know they were your sister and niece, Scott. I know this is where they lived. And I know they were killed in Chicago along with so many other people when my dad and I fought here. And for that, I'm so sorry. But hurting other people won't bring your sister and niece back.
Facts.
You don't get to lecture me about hurting people.
Really? Two wrongs don't make it right? Okay. But also, is killing Invincible going to bring them back?
Why do you get to live when so many others died?
That is
What makes
an
you
unfairness of the world, sir.
Not until you stop breathing.
But how is... Okay.
I'm warning you.
Or what? You'll kill me like you killed everyone else?
Stay there. I'll help you in a second.
She doesn't want your help,
Okay?
sadly.
Did I hurt you?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's what your kid needed to see, bro? That didn't kill him, by the way. Yep. That's what you get. And again, they didn't deserve, his baby didn't deserve that. The wife, I'm sorry, no tears for you. Because you pushed him to do this. See? And Invincible's still breathing. Now you've lost what you had. And that's his fault now, too? You're gonna have to make him unconscious, Mark. Take those things off, please. Quickly. Take those off, Mark. He's essentially a candle if you take those off. What a mess. What a mess. What a predictable mess.
But trust me when I say we'll make sure something like this never happens again.
How?
I remember them.
He did try to save them.
I hope that's a comfort to you.
Comfort. My sister and niece are dead. My wife and child
That's on you.
are dead.
That's on you.
All because of you.
No, because of his dad.
You're sad about it. Gives me comfort.
No, that's...
Mark, there's
not
nothing
what
you
I-
can say to him at this point, unfortunately.
And then I will find you.
Angstrom was like, hey, still here. Mark with a mustache never needs to happen.
This will do.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do. All right. Okay, guys. Well, that was a definitely a more sad episode, a little bit more of a heavy episode, but one that I think that anytime you do a show about superpowered people that's supposed to be grounded somewhat in reality, you need to have this episode. You need to have the episode where we talk about the not so pretty side of being a superhero. You know, they've been doing this in the Marvelverse for a little while now. A few of the movies that have come out in the last couple of years and TV shows have dealt with what happens with the collateral damage. Like, did we ever talk about what happens to the cities that get destroyed and the inevitable lives that are lost or changed forever for the negative because of these superhero encounters? And, you know, in the past, a lot of times these superhero movies never touched on that. It was always about who they saved and the glory of all that, but sometimes it goes really, really badly. And in season 1, what happened in Chicago was absolutely devastating, as we saw. Like, buildings were destroyed, whole neighborhoods wiped out, and as we found out, over 2,000 people didn't survive. And we saw it, right? We saw the way that Nolan just casually took life, right? Showed Mark that he didn't care at all about human lives at that point, right? He was killing them for fun just to make a point to Mark, right? So it was a significant situation. And even though Mark had to move forward from it, a lot of the people in that city never did, or were still going through their grief over the situation. Mark, for the most part, didn't lose too much in that situation, really. When you think about it, yeah, he got his butt whooped. Yeah, he found out his dad was not the person he thought he was, but his dad is still alive. His mom is safe. He gained a brother, had 2 girlfriends in the meantime, right? Like, his life has been pretty charmed. And I really like that Mark actually acknowledged in this episode that Cecil was keeping him shielded from a lot of stuff that it's not to say that Mark did need to know it, because I do agree with Mark that he does need to understand the repercussions. As I've been bringing this out since last season, Mark needs to understand the repercussions of life taking and the weight of it. And I never want him to be okay or feel all right with the loss of life. But at the same time, you know, that situation with his father was not in Mark's control, right? He didn't ask for that fight. He did not want the collateral damage to happen. And, you know, him dwelling on things that couldn't be changed, like the fact that those lives were now gone no matter what, it wasn't going to help Mark move forward and to do what he needed to do, which was focus on how to make sure he understood his powers and could control himself and learn to be more controlled than his father was, so something like that never had to happen again. And so anyway, I think the episode did a good job of kind of tapping in on these deeper issues, you know, this character of Powerplex, Scott, you know, what he was going through. I mean, it's always a very interesting line between, you know, how much of it becomes the fault of the person who caused the trauma versus the traumatized, you know, where's the line there? And, you know, in the first, you know, Scott had me in the first half. He was right? His family that he loved dearly was taken out mercilessly in front of him. There was nothing that could be done for that. And it seemed like it had all been swept under the rug, right? Nolan, who is really the perpetrator here, just left Earth, right? So there's no catching him to get him to take accountability. And then there's Mark, who's the only person who's left. And it seems like Mark has just forgotten about this and moved on with his life, or Invincible. And, you know, we hear him say, well, how do we know that he didn't help his dad? How do we know? Because, I mean, of course, we saw that the people in his lab were saying to him, you know, or no, first it was the lawyer, right? We see that he did try to go through the conventional means that our planet has for when an injustice has happened and trying to get some sort of, you know, some type of acknowledgement or justice. And, you know, we first saw that the attorney was like, yeah, what do we do? Like, we don't have laws for aliens, right? We don't have laws for something like this. And what do we even do? And I mean, what she didn't say, but we could also add on is what do we do? Who can contain Mark? Who can possibly even begin to imprison a Nolan or a Mark on this planet? Like, it's not possible at the moment. So even if you did find a way to take them to trial, then what do you do? How many years? I mean, technically, Mark probably could serve out a year for every person that he killed. But in the meantime, Viltrumites are still on their way. There's still all these other issues. Like, does it make sense to do that? especially if he is remorseful. Now, the one thing I will give to Scott's character is that it's true that Mark, where Cecil screwed up with shielding Mark from everything, was that I do think he should have maybe encouraged Mark to at least say or do, like, as Invincible, of course, say something to these people. I mean, there was nothing that was going to make it better, but an acknowledgement of, yeah, like my dad, or Omni-Man, whatever, if you want to make that association or not. But if you want to be like, look, yeah, Omni-Man, that what happened between the two of us, it affected you guys. And I know that there's irreparable damage that's been done here, but please know that I acknowledge that that's what happened. I'm actively working to ensure that nothing like that happens again. He could talk about what he's actually been doing, which is trying to prepare himself to be in a position so that if his father returns on that energy, that he'll be able to do what he can to stop it from happening. You know, like, would it work for everybody? Of course not. But I do think it would have made a lot of people feel a little bit better if there was a level of acknowledgement, because sometimes that's all people want. We don't necessarily want someone to fix something or to, or reverse it. Sometimes we just want to be heard and acknowledged. And again, we don't know that that would have been the right thing for Scott. I mean, I think Scott was hell-bent on doing something negative regardless, but I do think maybe there was a potential that maybe his wife or maybe, who knows, maybe he would have felt differently. Maybe if there'd been at least an acknowledgement of what had happened and the fact that a lot of people were going to suffer for a very long time because of it, that might have been helpful. But the fact that it was just essentially forgotten about, for lack of a better term, I understand where Scott's, the seeds were planted for what inevitably became his villain arc, right? So anyway, coming back to Scott, his story is kind of, it's not unique in any way. Unfortunately, it has happened in many ways and shapes or forms before. And, there's an expression that I've said on multiple reactions of different shows, but maybe even on this one, but that revenge, as much as it seems in the moment to be like the right thing to do, it never ends up the way you want, right? There's the expression that says, if you're going to go after revenge, you need to dig a hole for the person you're getting revenge on and dig one for yourself as well, because you will suffer. There will be things that you will take away from yourself, things inside of you that will die in order to pursue it, and you will also lose things around you in pursuit of it. So really, in the end, almost always the price of revenge is never worth it. The cost is too high. And in the case of Scott / Powerplex, he lost so much sight of what he actually still had in his life in favor of getting this, whatever he believed to be the justice, which is really revenge, let's face it, that he ended up losing what little he had left, right? Yes, we get it. He loved his sister and his niece very much. That was traumatic. To literally see them die in front of him would be something that would break a lot of people. However, despite that, he still had his life, and he still had a wife and a beautiful child, right? Those are two amazing things to have. Three, if you count his own life. If he had focused a bit more on being grateful for what he did have and celebrating that and figuring out the best way to support that, he wouldn't have had time to dwell on ways to hurt a man that's quite almost literally impossible to kill, right? His name, even though we've been joking that his name is not 100%, it's pretty close, right? It's really hard to take Mark out. There was no way that his power, which had to be augmented by tech, was going to be enough to take out an alien with the level of power that Mark has. Mark hasn't even at his full Viltrumite hood yet, and he's already that capable. It was just ill-sighted, and he would have seen that, as would his wife, if they'd spent more time focusing on what good they had in their life versus what was not right. And that's why I kept saying in the episode when he was saying, I want justice, I'm like, articulate justice. What does that mean to you? What would Mark have to do? What is it going to be? What's it going to do? What has to be done for you to feel like justice is served? Because as Mark rightly pointed out, if you kill me, your family's not coming back. Your sister and niece aren't coming back. Hurting other innocent people is not going to bring them back. So what is your justice? What do you want, right? And again, I'm not saying, like I said, maybe he would have wanted Mark to be in prison somehow or banished from Earth or something. But the truth was that Scott didn't really want justice. He wanted revenge. He wanted to cause Mark pain, right? He wanted to channel all those negative emotions somewhere. But it wasn't going to do anything to fix it, because the only way to heal from something like that is to let go. It is to forgive. It is to allow yourself to move past that point. But Scott never moved past that day in Chicago, and his wife, unfortunately, instead of being someone who tried to, again, redirect his attention to the good in his life, she was stoking that fire of revenge in him. And yeah, unfortunately, that toxic cycle is what ended up costing her and her son their lives, right? And I knew it was going to go that way, right? Because the fact that, we saw the devolving from like when Scott was just, oh, I want justice, I want to talk to him, to going into a city square, letting off his power willy-nilly, destroying buildings. Yeah, he didn't technically take a life directly in that first, but that alone should have been his wake-up call that you you went in there, wrecked up a city street, knocked up a bunch of buildings. And again, thank goodness that Shapesmith was, pretty durable, but he could have taken out Shapesmith, right? And he did attack Shapesmith first. Before he was like, oh, but he attacked me. It's like, yeah, but you threw an electric shock at him when he was trying to talk to you. So all of that to say, it's a sad situation where in the case of Scott, he allowed that hatred to twist him into the very thing that he claimed that he was trying to stop. And that can happen very easily. And, you understand his arc. I understand how he got there, but it was avoidable at so many turns. And unfortunately, now he's where he is. He's lost everything. What little he had left, not even little, because having a wife and child is a lot in this world, but what he did have left is now gone. And now all he has left is the anger and the hatred. And that's why in the end, when Mark tried to, I'm not going to fault him because I do think that, Mark's intents were pure, right? He tried to let him know that, like, I don't think of your family as just a footnote. Like, I did remember them. But at that point in time, we're beyond that, right? Scott has nothing left but his anger. This vengeance quest is what he's now told himself is what he needs in order to justify his actions, which he's not taking accountability for. And that's the irony of it. It's like, bro, you're sitting here this whole episode talking about accountability and how Mark isn't taking it, yet you're not taking accountability for the fact of, like I said, that damage you did in the first time you arrived, the fact that you came to a moment that should have been about honoring all those other people who've also suffered and lost things. You took that day away from them and made them fear for them lives, and then you destroyed damaged their monuments and their ways of remembering these people. No accountability for that. And then again, you trying to take out a guy that you clearly didn't do the research on, which ended up taking out your wife and kid, and that's now his fault too. Like, pot kettle, sir. We need to learn about accountability our own selves, right? So anyway, a bit sad that was the trajectory, but I think it was something that Mark needed to see because, as I said, like, he now recognizes once again that Cecil has been doing a lot for him that he didn't know about directly, and not all of it is shady. A lot of it was because he cared about Mark, genuinely cares about Mark, and wanted to try to get him, Cecil's got so many plates in the air right now, and Mark doesn't have the first clue of how much is on Cecil's plate and the weight that Cecil carries daily. And that's why I was like not on Mark's side earlier in the season with those arguments between him and Cecil. Did he have valid points? Yes, but the reason I couldn't get behind Mark is because he isn't even trying to understand where Cecil's coming from. And maybe if he did, he'd start to understand that there was ways he could work with Cecil versus than just trying to villainize him, because that's, he wants to sit on this high horse of morality. But anyway, Mark needed to see this. He needed to understand, again, the weight of what his powers come with. That it's not something to just be written off to him long before when it came down to the fake kidnapping. I do think that at the monument, Mark should have gone and talked to him, right? I do think he should have, he didn't know. Mark should have done what he did. Mark should have done with Donald as far as getting the information on who this man was and everything, and talk to him before it came down to that ultimate showdown, if Mark had met with him the first time. I also understand that it had to be done properly, because if Mark just showed up every time a superhero started throwing a tantrum, or a supervillain, I should say, then that's setting a bad precedent as well. But you get my point. I think he could have been talked down sooner. That's why, once again, broken record, Eve is not the right person to be Mark's person. I have no issue with her being in his life. I do think she's a good friend to help him with certain things that a human would not be able to relate to. But as it comes as far as his morality and as far as making some of those bigger, ethical decisions, she's not the right person to be Mark's person. I'm sorry, she's not. And this episode once again proved it. She should not have been the one to deal with that situation at the memorial. The way that she just kind of tried to poo-poo away a lot of his stuff when he was trying to voice very valid things about accountability and responsibility as a superhero. And then even when he was training his brother at the beginning, and Mark is like, no, he needs to understand things, like, there's a reason I'm teaching him the way he is. And she's like, oh, Mark, lighten up. Tell him he's gonna get burgers instead. Like, no, Mark is seeing that there is a possible real problem with Oliver if they don't get that in hand right now, and her poo-pooing it away when she too grew up in a completely different way than he did. Anyway, I'm gonna stop, but there's just no good coming from that relationship as it's balanced right now. But anyways, that kind of dovetails into, we got Amber again this episode. It was nice to see her, I guess. I'm hoping, as I said, that they are not doing the storyline from the comics. If they're just putting her in another relationship and it's, hopefully one that's healthy, I'm all for that. And I do like the fact that there's no weirdness and they can be friends, because I do think Mark needs her friendship badly. He needs Amber's groundedness and her moral compass badly, because it's not coming from Eve. So anyway, but yeah, that was pretty much the main crux of it all. I think that Mark has a lot that he needs to consider, and And I'm glad that he's starting to, see where he should start doing that, and maybe potentially see the light around, the whole situation with Cecil, because he does need to work with Cecil. This Mark versus the Guardians thing is not going to work out for anybody in the long run. What do we have? Small touch points on Debbie with her new relationship. Not much to say on that one. Yeah, I mean, very valid. Her man not knowing where he fits into a superhero life is very real, but I think that it was handled well by him and Debbie. At this point, I have no issue with him. He seems nice enough. I mean, there's no buzz here, though. Let's be real. Debbie is still very much in love with Nolan. When that man shows up again to save Earth, I'm sorry, bro, you're getting kicked to the curb. That part's pretty clear. Anyway, yeah, there was that. Yeah, Oliver talking about the fact that he has a perfect memory of his father and how he still is not very happy with the fact that people aren't over the fact that he massacred 2,000 people. Even I noticed that, and I don't think it was an accident, when you see when Oliver first sat down at the funeral, his face, he didn't want to be there. He was just like, oh, you could see he was upset that he had to be in a place where people maybe, just maybe, didn't like his dad, even though like his dad was quite literally directly responsible for the death of these people's loved ones. Like, Oliver's going to be a problem, you guys. He is going to be a problem. This kid still does not seem to be making any association with the fact that even though, yes, his dad is not all evil, there is accountability to be had, and that these people are very much entitled to feeling animosity towards his dad right now. And it just bothers me that he's just like, yeah, but you should be looking at everyone should just get over it. Like, maybe it's the Thraxan in him because they grow so fast, he feels like he needs to get over it already. But yeah, he's going to be a problem. He's continuing to prove that he is going to be a problem, and that Mark has every right to be keeping an extra eye on him and really be trying to nip a lot of this stuff in the bud. But anyhow, so that was that. And then we had a little bit in the Guardian side of things. Well, actually, they're not the Guardians, whatever the new team is that hasn't renamed itself. Really cute moments between Rudy and Monster Girl. He looks like he might have potentially paused the cursed side of her powers. We'll have to see if there's any repercussions to that. I do feel like there's going to be some type of weird backlash because he's trying to solve something with science that is originated in the mystical. So we'll see if it works, but I don't know. The person who's watched a lot of these types of movies and shows and read books about these kind of things is telling me probably going to have an unforeseen consequence. But that aside, it was a very cute moment, and I love that they had that. And we see that, I can't remember her name now, Shrinking Girl, she's decided she wants to quit. And understandable. I said this when she came back to the team a couple episodes ago, that PTSD is real. She's clearly very much still dealing with her PTSD over her experience. And I just really like the way they showed the juxtaposition of how Rex is handling this versus her. They both went through probably the worst possible near-death experience you can have. Rex literally bullet through the head, her almost being digested. Like, these were severe injuries. Again, not Rex's first brush with nearly dying, but probably his most severe. And the difference that they're having, does Rex probably have some PTSD too? Yes, but because he's been doing this for so long and he's been in near-death situations multiple times, he compartmentalizes that, compartmentalizes that much differently, and probably, I don't know if I want to call it better, but he's able to deal with it, right? We see that Rex kind of pushes through these types of things with his crude humor, with his backhanded stuff. But the point is, he's figured out a way to kind of let those things go and move forward. And even though he didn't articulate it in this episode, I think, well, first of all, him saying that he doesn't have an identity outside of being a superhero was very real, right? He was literally raised by the GDA. So it's understandable that he's like, yeah, I don't know who I am if I'm not Rexplode. And I agree with her in that he should probably try to learn who that is. Because I mean, even though Rex has all these abilities, I think we can safely say he's going to age and at some point probably not be as up to this anymore. But outside of that, though, I do think that Rex likes that, though. I don't think he hates being Rexplode, if that makes sense. Yeah, it sucks that he has no identity outside of it, but I think he genuinely does identify with it, and he likes knowing that, yes, he might have had multiple near-death experiences, but it's for a greater good, right? It's not just for the sake of almost dying. He's putting his powers to use in a way that he believes is for the betterment of everyone. So I think that's why he can reconcile those types of accidents better. Whereas with this girl, she talks about how she was also raised in this world, but not in the same way as Rex, right? She was raised by her parents to be this product, which she clearly didn't want to do. And then, like she said, she really didn't start getting into real life or death stuff until she was much older. So now this is her first real brush with death, and understandably, she's not okay with it because this was never the life she really wanted, right? She kind of let us know that this was her parents' dream, it wasn't hers. So that would be all the more reason to turn her off of staying in this world and staying in this life. And so I get what she's saying about I don't want to risk my life again for what I perceive to be not worth it. No one should do that, right? If you're going to put yourself in a job where you're putting the danger in your life significantly higher, it should be be something you genuinely believe in and ideally enjoy as well. And so she doesn't. So anyway, I thought them juxtaposing those two things was really interesting. How two people who have very similar upbringings and surroundings have very different viewpoints on this world and this life. And yeah, we see that Rex is basically like, yeah, I'm not really ready to walk away from all that at this point for effectively a relationship that hasn't even started yet. Right? Respectfully, I do think he likes her a lot, but it's like, bro, you're not even my real girlfriend. Why am I going to throw away everything I've ever known? And something I think that, I mean, truthfully, from what we've seen since season 1, I think Rex genuinely enjoys his job too. Like, I don't think he hates doing this at all. So yeah, to throw all that away because, you know, basically this girl kind of has a crush on him. Yeah, that's a lot to ask. And so anyway, thankfully she kind of knew it wasn't necessarily a sure shot, but it was a sweet little moment there. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe she'll change her mind after she gets some breathing room. But I think for her, really, she just needs time to process. Like, it's her body healed, but her mind is still very much putting the pieces back together, which is completely understandable. So that's pretty much all we got in this episode. But again, very heavy messaging. I think, again, very valid for anything in the superhero genre. You know, that expression that came from Spider-Man, you know, with the great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, that's what this episode I think really started to tap into, is that it's not all roses and cake. It's hard sometimes. And how do you even balance that responsibility, that weight of the amount of destruction and suffering you could potentially cause? And how does that balance out? Even Oliver, when he was saying that thing about, look at, you know, dad saved lives for like how many years, and now everyone's only looking at this one bad thing that he did. And again, he's of course talking about Earth, right? We're not talking about how many other worlds that Nolan absolutely plowed through. But digressing, yeah, you know, that balance of, yeah, does one bad thing that someone does, does that negate all the good that they've done? And I feel like our society struggles a lot with that even now when we see this happening with famous figures, right? Who do things that are illegal or things that are bad, but in their past they've done a lot of good. Does that mean that those good things no longer matter? Should they be negated because they've done something that's pretty bad? That's a big question. It's one that I think everyone's got to answer for themselves. But anyway, good discussion points, good thought points, and very relevant to this kind of world. And yeah, again, just more of Mark's journey of kind of discovering the kind of superhero he wants to be. And again, like I said, understanding that weight that comes along with wanting to don that suit and that name and be a figure in the world that way. So yeah, interesting, very, very good discussion points there. And then yeah, we just had that ending scene with, of course, we know that Angstrom is still alive and watching Mark. It looks like it's the same Angstrom because the head thing's still going on. So I am very, very curious as to what happened on that world where Mark beat someone to a bloody pulp. Was that another copy of Angstrom? Was that all some kind of, I don't even know, because Angstrom, we know that one of his abilities is to go into different dimensions. So was that just another it must be, because no wait, he's got scarring on his face, which he didn't have before. So did he somehow survive? He must have somehow survived. He must have maybe somehow pulled himself back together. How, we don't know. But again, the man had absorbed how many different versions of himself. So anyway, either way, that man's still alive. He's been watching Mark, and we see he's been collecting a bunch of different Marks from different dimensions. So who they are, as far as like where their mindset is on the whole Viltrum thing and all that, is still to be seen. But apparently Angstrom looks like he's ready to make some type of a move. So that will be quite interesting. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching along with me. If you did, please show some love, and I will see you in the next one.